Tim Lasher and his team have more than 130 years of combined experience. They recognize a significant number of homeowners live with inadequate home comfort systems. They specialize in diagnosing your home system issues while providing more efficiency and reducing your utility costs. As an authorized dealer of American Standard, Tim can service your residence or business. Call Tim and his team at 405-579-3113. Lasher Home Comfort Systems.
The Ref Radio Sports Network is powered statewide by the insurance adjusters at Brown O'Haver. Fire, wind, theft, or tornado, we can help. Call 405-735-5510. Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings Studios, it's time to get locked in to the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Tyler McComas and Parker Thune.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000. Text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Tyler McComas and Parker Thune.
Well, we do have another transfer portal edition to talk about today. Not one, not two, but three players from Kennesaw State in the transfer portal. How about it? Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Austin Welch. Got him via the portal. Kicker. 14 of 18 last year at Kennesaw State. And I can hear Chris in Chicago now. He probably just texted it in. Liam Dam Evans. What about him? Austin Welch. Excited? Love it? Hate it? Kennesaw State? What's up, man?
Well, first off, Tyler, great to see you again.
Yeah.
Feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, it has been. It's been about a week.
It's been a year.
I about didn't come back after I looked at social media over the weekend.
I haven't
Dude. Oh.
Yeah, social media is up in arms. I haven't seen you since last year, Tyler.
You're just waiting all day to throw out that joke. So thanks for getting it out in the first 3 minutes.
In all seriousness. As I understand it, Austin Welch is going to be on scholarship at the University of Oklahoma. So you actually are going to have multiple scholarship specialists, which is not something OU has done in the past. But both Jacob Ulrich and Austin Welch are going to be on scholarship, which leads me to believe that Doug Deacon watched a lot of Kennesaw State football this year and decided, okay, we better sink 2 of the 85 into getting a good kicker and punter.
My man was Tuesdays and Wednesday nights because that's when Kennesaw State was playing the entire year. Tuesday and Wednesday nights, you may have just been kicking back, but Doug Deacon was out there scouting. He's like, I need a kicker and a punter via the transfer portal. How about this Kennesaw State game? Their numbers are god-awful offensively, so they're kicking, or I don't know how much they were kicking last year, but they were certainly punting quite a bit. And there you go, Austin Welch today, your third player that you've added via Kennesaw State, and still more pieces to go. Some pieces that are on campus right now as we speak. A report out about 15 minutes ago, and I heard you tell Steely this, a couple of hours ago.
Yep.
Looks like Marvin Jones Jr. is here. He's visiting.
He's not the only one, Tyler.
Not the Kendall Daniels?
Kendall
also
Daniels.
here as well?
Yep. Kendall Daniels. Those aren't the only two either. There's another one. You want to hazard a guess?
General Booty
is
coming back.
Unfortunately not General Booty.
Gosh, man.
It does not appear that Oklahoma will be renewing the General Booty experience, tragically. The other one's Josiah Martin.
Okay.
Well, not a whole lot of intrigue there because he's already committed.
Right.
But he's on campus as well, checking it out, taking his OV. And Jet New is going to come to town to take his OV as well.
Well, is this his first ever visit to Oklahoma?
This will be his first ever visit to Oklahoma.
Hey, Jet, come see the place that you're about to spend however many years you're about to spend here, and come see it for the first time. Hopefully the photos have done it justice to what you're walking into. Let's go.
Maybe we can get him in. I'm going to see if we can do that. I'm going to see if we can get him in studio while he's in town.
Do it.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. That'd be a great get.
He's a really good interview.
Reform Homer says, I thought Tyler transferred to Kennesaw State. Again, I thought about it because the loss was not great on Friday. I don't know. We don't need to rehash it more than it's already been talked about, but the panic from that and then the Zach Alley departure and everything, I'm like, I gotta get off this thing. I can't sit here and stare at it all day.
Well, the good news is if you had transferred to Kennesaw State, we all know you would have just ended up back here anyway, right?
If not this portal cycle, then the next portal cycle, I would have been here. Patrick says, are we going to start wearing Kennesaw State unis next year? It could be an alternate look next year.
A little bit of the yellow piping.
Are they the Owls? Kennesaw State Owls next year? Yeah.
Black and yellow.
Slim Brady says, wait, what's the point of giving committed guys in official visits?
Because Jet New never got the chance to take his. So, and you can, there are no limitations as of right now on official visits. So you can give official visits out like candy, like Oprah giving out cars. You get an official visit. You get an official visit. You get an official visit. Everybody gets an official visit. But they've done this in the past with guys. Brendan Zurbrugg was another great example. I don't think he got the chance, as I recall last year, to take his official visit until either he had signed or he was on the verge of signing. But anybody that's committed to OU is going to get an official visit at one point or another.
Well, I'm sure you guys spent some time earlier in the week talking about Josiah Martin, OU's newest wide receiver that's been added via the transfer portal. Hopefully he's a guy that can come in right away and contribute. And what's the story on him? That he really wanted to be at Oklahoma when he was in high school, and now he gets the opportunity to be at Oklahoma now, which is a pretty cool story. But I really want to talk about the two guys, or the two defensive guys who are on campus right now, Kendall Daniels and Marvin Jones. Kendall Daniels, an in-state kid that OU recruited the first time around, and boy, it'd be a really – I don't think I'm in the minority of saying this. That'd be a really good get. And he's just got 1 year of eligibility left. But the amount of football that he's played, the amount of snaps that he's played, and the position flexibility that maybe he might have, I think there's a lot to like there if OU continues to feel good about their chances with Kendall Daniels.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like as well, specifically with regard to that cheetah spot, because Kendall Daniels is one of those guys that you figure, okay, he's cut out for the cheetah role. And then what that enables you to do, and I think this is something you need to do, I think it's something that is best for all parties. That enables you to tell Samuel Masigo, hey, why don't you focus on being an inside linebacker as opposed to a cheetah? Because I think Samuel Masigo, I think he'd be a good cheetah. I think he can be a great linebacker.
And he may need to be next year. I mean, we'll see what kind of it looks like numbers-wise and roster-wise. But I'll be a fan. I'll be pretty excited if OU can get Kendall Daniels. I'm not saying I think Kendall Daniels takes this from a defense this year that was – yeah, they're pretty good to elites, but I think that certainly he's a guy that can help out right away, man. Definitely help out right away.
OU Optimist on the text line said, John Mateer's going to need to play well to get the Sooner Owls Bowl eligible in 2025. Boomer hoot.
Shouldn't have brought it up. It wouldn't have mattered if I brought it up or not.
No.
People were ready with the Kennesaw State jokes.
Patrick said, let's have an owl fly into midfield before the game.
Yeah, Auburn has the War Eagle.
We got the War Owl.
We'll have the War Owl. War Owl! Hey! Like Auburn did. It was sweet. Marvin Jones Jr. is also on campus right now, former 5-star. And we're getting this question a lot on the text line, like, okay, well, this is great, but does this mean that R. Mason Thomas, he's going to the NFL draft? Maybe it means that. I feel like we talked about all along, Parker, even before we knew what R. Mason Thomas was going to decide, that OU still needed a body at this position. So I don't think really much has changed as of right now. We'll see what R. Mason Thomas decides.
Yeah,
but
look, far as I know,
is going to need a guy there.
Far as I know, R. Mason Thomas is still coming back to Oklahoma in 2025. That said, a little bit sketch that he hasn't made any announcement yet.
Sure.
Right? People are understandably a little apprehensive about that whole ordeal based on that aspect of the reality. But if you were to land Marvin Jones and or Maurice Westmoreland, who I think would be the number 2 addition for Oklahoma in this entire portal cycle behind John Mateer, I think he's a stud. But if you were to land Marvin Jones as well, yeah, his production hasn't been spectacular through 3 collegiate seasons, but it's been there. He's going to have 2 eligibility. He has produced to some extent. And there's a ton of potential. There's a ton of ability there. There's a ton to unlock. He wasn't a 5-star by accident. And so that would be a hugely impactful addition for Oklahoma. Is it the type of deal where you bank on that guy being your bread and butter at the position in 2025? Not exactly, because you certainly still want to see an emergent campaign from PJ Adibawere. You would like to see Taylor Wine take that next step. You'd love to see what Danny Okoye can bring to the table after redshirting in 2025. But the more talent that you can stack at defensive end, as we saw last night, if you watch that Ohio State-Oregon game, you have defensive ends that can get home. It makes it very difficult on the opposition to throw the ball effectively because the quarterback is constantly under duress. That was the case for Dylan Gabriel last night, and that should really hammer it home for a lot of folks, is that good defensive ends are worth paying for.
Look, I watched Dylan Gabriel here just like the rest of you, the 2022 season, which was pretty rough around here. But I don't think I've ever watched a football game with DG at quarterback where he was under that much consistent pressure throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
I felt bad for the guy.
Jack Sawyer,
Man.
JT Tuimoloau, they were
all over it, man.
They were making his life a living hell. Sooner Soldier says, does OU stand for OWL-U?
Yes. Yes, it does. OWL-U now is what we are. I did have to laugh earlier today, and when it was put out that John Locke, Louisiana Tech tight end, blessed to receive an offer from the University of Oklahoma. People quickly found his stats. 2 receptions for 6 yards?
That is correct.
Oh, my gosh. Like, I wasn't staring at the text line at that time. I cannot imagine what the text line looked like at that time. It looks like it's a PWO offer.
It is a PWO offer.
But
he's
2
not
receptions,
getting a scholarship.
6 yards about sent people over the top when that one came out today. I was like, oh boy, not great.
Yeah, and if that's a guy that had gotten a scholarship, understandably there would have been some backlash, and there would have been an uproar.
Topher B on the YouTube live chat just said that Jalen Milroe declared for the NFL draft. I did see some scuttlebutt earlier today that he was leaning that way, and yeah, there it is. Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe has declared for the NFL draft. Now, I bring that up clearly because OU beat Jalen Milroe this year, KIP 6 Part 2. OU had a great night defensively, and OU goes to Alabama next year, which hopefully at that point in November is going to be a big football game. But OU won't face a Jalen Milroe-led Alabama team. And we'll see what that means for the Tide after a 9-4 finish this year. Kalen DeBoer's buyout's like $70 million, so I don't think that you're going to get what you want there, Tide fans, in terms of new coach.
Where is Jalen Milroe going to get drafted,
I don't know.
Man?
I'm genuinely surprised that I mean, he had some real issues throwing the football this year, so I'm excited for it as well.
Good text from Luke. I feel bad for any tight end brave enough to post their offer on Twitter. Yeah, no joke, man, because it happened with Carson Kent. It happened with Will Huggins. It's happening right now with John Locke. You post that offer, and you got OU fans in the comments going, Joe John Finley sucks. Look at this scrub. We're offering this clown to come play tight end for us.
Is there any tight end that could post, like in the world, that could post an OU offer right now and people wouldn't get upset? Like Travis Kelce? Hell, he's washed. He's old. He's on the Pfizer commercials. We don't want someone that's woke. I think we'd come up with just about anything right now to not be happy with a tight end offer at this point. 3-star KW in the 918. Welcome back, Tyler. Everything's been fine since you went on vacay. All is well in Norman. Nothing to see here. Hope you enjoyed yourself while we lost to a service academy and killing it in the portal with FCS players. Yeah, and then the whole Zach Yalley thing. That one caught me by surprise. It sounds like it caught a lot of people by surprise. Or by surprise that
I mean, obviously that noise had been percolating for a couple of weeks. But everybody on the OU side felt like, okay, like we're going to keep this guy. We got an offer that everybody's content with. From what I was told, he had verbally agreed to the terms of the contract with Oklahoma, but obviously words mean nothing. What matters is a signature on paper, and the Sooners did not get that. West Virginia did.
Blue Green Country says Venables got to get a couple of studs from Clemson. They weren't even in the game for the number 4 defensive back on Texas that came from Clemson. That dude is a stud. Makuba is the name, I believe. Yeah, Andrew Makuba is who you were talking about. Isn't he an Austin kid, though?
He is.
Makuba. So, yeah, that was a big factor in him wanting to go play for Texas this past year.
Yeah, he's good buddies, high school teammates, I believe, with Latrell McCutcheon.
Wow. Oh, interesting.
Yes, burnt toast.
Warren said the Sooners will face the Crimson Tide and Quinn Ewers next season. That's my prediction. There's still that rumor out there that he's got a multi-million-dollar offer from a Big Ten school.
Oh, it's not a Big Ten school. It's an ACC school. I mean, there may be Big Ten offers with big.
Yeah, there was a
Big Ten schools with
Big
big
Ten
numbers on
rumor
the
as
table,
well,
but
and an ACC rumor too.
The $6 million rumor is Miami, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, I figured as much. 3-star Lost City Sooner. I never trusted Zach in his weak mustache game.
I thought his mustache game was pretty strong.
I like that. Very good.
Chris in Chicago says, what's more dangerous, OU thinking a deal is done or Tyler interviewing an OU recruit?
Well, let's look at the history. How many players have entered into the transfer portal after being interviewed on this show?
Many.
Although,
to be fair, like half OU's roster from this spring
has
entered
sports.
the transfer portal.
Remember when we had Rocco Garza-Gongora here during the middle of the season? And then he transferred at the end of the year. I'm like, really? Even the baseball players? Golly, man. 405-651-3439. Keep it coming on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Texture for the 405 just simply asked, Parker, any news on defensive coordinator? A lot of smoke out there on Wes Goodwin now that he's out at Clemson. But
well, not officially out at Clemson. All the buzz indicates that he is out at Clemson. But, yeah, look. Wes Goodwin is the only external hire that makes any sense because you're bringing somebody in that can call and run and work within the confines of Brent Venables' defense. So, if you're not going to keep it in the family with somebody like Brandon Hall, Wes Goodwin is the guy you're going to go and hire.
Yeah. All right, we'll get back to the text line. How about Michael Fasusi performing quite well this week? Under Armour game, I believe, being played today, actually. And we got the Georgia-Notre Dame coming up at Georgia-Notre Dame game, I should say, coming up at the top of the hour in New Orleans. We'll break down that and a whole lot more right here on The Ref. Hornsdown Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the umps because Spike was safe, Hornsdown Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Not just any truck, the truck. GMC's continued commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your Oklahoma GMC dealers. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade GMC.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Cindy Nasher is your go-to agent in Norman for the service you deserve at the price you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Cindy Nasher has you covered. Call 405-307-0500 for surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Coach Stoops here. Join me every week on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Monday morning at 7:45, I'll join the voice of the Sooners, Toby Rowland, and TJ Perry for the Stoops Review. We'll break down all the action from the weekend, and on Thursday afternoons at 4:45 with Teddy and Tyler on The Rush as we get you ready for the weekend slate. It's the best time of year, and you can find me exclusively on The Ref. Download the KREF app today so you listen from anywhere in the world.
When you're sick, you need to be seen by a health professional today, not next week. Norman Regional Urgent Care is here for you from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Open 7 days a week at Porter Health Village in Norman and Monday through Friday in Westmore and Goldsby. No appointment needed, just walk right in. Whether it's a sudden illness or a minor injury, Norman Regional Urgent Care is ready to get you back on your feet today, not next week.
What are you waiting for? If you're anything like me, that question keeps you up at night. So don't wait for someone else's green light. Do the things you love right now at More Norman Tech. We'll get you out of the classroom and into the real world with hands-on experience in whatever feeds your fire. So get after it. Oklahoma needs more doers, and doers don't wait. More Norman Tech, powered by Oklahoma Career Tech.
After a car crash, life can be hard. You're hurt, stressed, and then, when you need help the most, the insurance company doesn't care.
They drag their feet, question your injuries, and make things difficult. They put profits over people.
At McIntyre Law, we level the playing field. We take on the billion-dollar insurance companies so you can focus on what matters, getting your life back. Call us at 405-777-7000. You deserve better.
More than 600,000 Oklahomans have disabilities. We can't afford to leave great employees behind just because they do things differently.
Who we are and what we accomplish
are much more important.
Hire an Oklahoman with a disability and gain dependability, commitment, and lower turnover. Reach out. Oklahoma Rehabilitation Services, okdrs.gov. 1-800-845-8476.
Landmark Fine Homes is a custom home builder in Oklahoma City. Our commitment is to build energy-efficient, custom-quality crafted homes around the metro OKC area. If you're looking to build your first home or last, Landmark Fine Homes is the builder for you. We have many floor plans to choose from, or bring us one that you already have. We have communities throughout the metro, or we will build on your lot. Call 405-347-5991 and let Landmark Fine Homes help turn your dreams into a reality.
Locked in with McComas and Thune, live on the Ref. We're the home of Sooner fans. Tyler McComas, Parker Thune, Ref Army, listening worldwide via the free KREF app. Just search KREF in the App Store. Salmon Arm, British Columbia is tuned in today. That's a first. Salmon
Arm.
In British Columbia.
Last I checked, salmon do not have arms.
Well, tell the Canadians.
Okay.
They must be confused up there.
They're confused about a lot of things.
Gresham, Oregon is tuned in today. Rutland, Vermont. River Falls, Wisconsin. Wichita, Kansas. Tupelo, Mississippi. Woodway, Texas. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Comanche, Oklahoma, all tuned in today via the free KREF app. Ref Army Locator brought to you by Horns Down Apple Pie. I hope really all of you enjoyed some Horns Down Apple Pie throughout Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, whatever. It's delicious. It's fantastic. Dink and Addison did a fantastic job with Horns Down Apple Pie, and you can see all the locations across the state that Horns Down Apple Pie is available at drinkhornsdown.com. Georgia and Notre Dame going to play or kick off in about 30 minutes. Homeland Security is like blocking the roads into the Superdome. Like people are having to walk several blocks to get to the Superdome, fans, media, everyone, and as you can imagine, they're taking all the precautions that you would hope that they would take after that awful situation that happened New Year's Eve and into New Year's Day there in New Orleans. But as far as the game itself, I know Georgia's playing with the backup quarterback, but I thought Gunnar Stockton actually looked pretty good in that second half against Texas. Like brought a spark, threw a very costly interception in the fourth quarter. But I'm going to take Georgia to win a close game today in the Dome. What say you? Close, low-scoring game between Georgia and Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'd tend to agree. I think it's probably one of those games that feels more lopsided than it is, where Georgia's in control throughout, but it never looks at any point like a blowout. It's just one of those games where, kind of like that Texas-Arizona State game was up until the final 5 minutes yesterday, where it just feels like, okay, there's one team that's in control. Don't really have to question where this is going. But it by no means is out of reach at any particular point in time.
God, 4th and 13! 4th and 13! You had him! You had him! Matthew Golden wide open in the end zone. God, that stunk yesterday. I thought Arizona State was gonna win that football game. But you know what? The way Ohio State's playing right now, does it really matter? Like, if Ohio State's going to play this way for their final two games of the season, then it seems to me that Ryan Day and Ohio State are going to be in a pretty good spot to win the national championship. The team that we've seen the last two games, like that's the best team in college football.
What if Ryan Day wins the national championship? After losing to Michigan in the season finale, mind you.
You'll have Michigan, of course, that won the national championship last year. How would Michigan fans take that if Ohio State won the title? Normally, you're really bummed out if your biggest rival wins a title, but are you just kind of laughing at them the entire way? Like, that's great. It's great you won the title. Couldn't beat little old Michigan along the way, though. Couldn't beat Michigan at home. No big deal. We own you guys.
A verified source on the text line says 4th and 13, they ran cover 1 and sent 7 against Quinn. Bad idea. They just, if you're going to do that, you better get home. And credit to Texas's offensive line because they gave Quinn a clean pocket despite the extra rushers. Captain Willard says, salmon arm? Sounds like a fishing injury. Yeah, it sure does.
I've never seen it on
went
the
up to Alaska in June, came back with him. Real bad case of salmon arm.
Chris from Knoxville says Ohio State fans would still hate Ryan Day for losing to Michigan. You think they would fire him at the podium, getting the national championship trophy because he lost to Michigan? We were going to wait until the end of the season, but now that we're here, you're fired, bro. You can take a picture with the trophy, but just one. And after you take that photo, get on out of here. We're about to go hire someone else that can beat Michigan. CJ Sooner, no shout-out to Cocoa, Florida on the Ref app. Well, shout-out to you, CJ Sooner.
And shout-out to Cocoa, Florida.
Yeah.
Lost City Sooner says, those silly Canadians think ham is bacon. That is true.
That's true.
They do.
By the way, and I hate to support Texas A&M athletics. You know I hate to support Texas A&M athletics. But a new Buc-ee's just opened up in Amarillo. And may have gotten the sandwich there that has brisket, the sausage, and the turkey that's on it. I mean, it's like $14. It's pretty high priced, but got to say, Buc-ee's does some pretty good barbecue. And I enjoyed it the way there and the way back earlier this week. Not bad stuff. So I won't ridicule you so much now moving forward for supporting Texas A&M athletics and going to Buc-ee's all the time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I had a Buc-ee's breakfast sandwich the morning before the Armed Forces Bowl, so I was there a week ago. Always hits, man.
Yeah.
I'm not – honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, I'm not big on their barbecue. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's spectacular. Their breakfast does hit the spot, always.
Well,
the trap I always fall into is I'm really hungry when I roll up to Buc-ee's for breakfast, and I convince myself that I can eat this and this and this. And so I just get a bunch of stuff, bring it back to the car with me, and then I end up stalling out.
Then your car smells like it after the game.
It does. That is true.
And there's, give or take, about 9,000 people inside that place at any point in the day that you go inside of Buc-ee's. It's great. It's fantastic. Hey, and this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but it's worth acknowledging. Michael Fasusi having himself a nice week. And the Under Armour game is going to be played today. But it sounds like, Michael Fasusi, who was absolutely looked at as one of the best offensive linemen in the 2025 class, well, he goes out there amongst the elite, and it looks like he's done his part. And some are using the word dominant to describe Michael Fasusi's week.
Well, all right, you know who would dominate down there in Orlando last year, B.J. Brooks. So
that's true. We were this time last year.
Fasusi's going to be in the transfer portal by the end of the year.
God, don't say that. That'd be the final straw for people if that happened. Oh, jeez. That'd be bad. What was it? Hayes? Maybe it was Hayes Fawcett. It was someone out there saying that they'd be shocked if Michael Fasusi isn't like a day one starter next year. Now, I'm not.
Really?
I'm not willing. I mean, we'll see, what happens throughout the offseason. I mean, clearly I think that he's good, and I do think that he'll play, but I do find it interesting that there were people out there saying, like, that guy, he is real good, got a chance to be a day one starter at Oklahoma next year.
And I'll be honest, I don't think he has a chance to be a day one starter. And I don't think that's the expectation that should be placed upon him. I would expect that Fasusi redshirts. Anything more than that, anything beyond that, that's a hugely pleasant surprise in my mind. But I don't know if it's Hayes Fawcett or whoever else that's saying it. Yeah, Michael Fasusi has been really, really strong per all reports down in Orlando all week. But it is very, very difficult for offensive linemen to play anywhere as true freshmen, let alone the University of Oklahoma. I can think of only 3 guys that have done it under Bill Bedenbaugh, unless they were just forced into action by virtue of injury. But, like, Caden Green played his way onto the field. Anton Harrison played his way onto the field. Drew Samia played his way onto the field. That's it, Tyler.
Not a lot of guys.
That's it.
Now, we do have to acknowledge that this is, probably the most talented recruits that Bill Bedenbaugh has ever brought in. But to your point, to come in day one as a tackle, and, like, think about I don't think it's true either that he's going to start day one. That's why it kind of took me by surprise, and why I remembered it over the past few days. I was like, "Whoa, okay, that's a take. That's a very strong take." If Michael Fasusi were to start though from day one next year, he would face the Michigan Wolverines in a defensive line that I'm guessing is going to be pretty good again next year for Michigan. I mean, he would have some really tall tasks next year. Auburn's going to have some guys on the defensive line. Texas, with some of those young players that they have on their defense, are going to be really good. Maybe he'll play next year. Maybe he'll work his way into the lineup at some point. But if he does, man, OU, again, being in the SEC with this schedule, going to face some really talented defensive linemen. You know who's the kind of the flavor of the past month or so? I'd say the past couple of weeks with people. I saw a 10-2 prediction today. A 10-2 way too early prediction for the Auburn Tigers earlier today. Oh, yeah.
A lot of belief in
People
Jackson
are
Arnold.
all about, Jackson Arnold with Hugh Freeze and what they brought in via the transfer portal. There's starting to be a lot of buzz on the Auburn Tigers next year.
I'll believe it when I see it with that program. And, yeah, if Fasusi is playing in any capacity next year, I think that's problematic.
Yeah.
Not because he isn't really good or because he's not going to be really good, because I think he will be with some seasoning. But if he's on the field, that means you're dealing with injuries again, or your portal acquisitions were not what you thought they would be.
But to the Auburn point, and it's something that even I have had to retrain my brain a little bit talking about recruiting.
Yeah.
Because I grew up forever like, okay, here's the recruiting rankings. Where's OU and where's Texas? Because that's really all we need to worry about. Because you don't need to look at Oklahoma State or Texas Tech or Iowa State or West. It didn't really matter. Where's Oklahoma ranked? Where's Texas ranked? Now we got to worry about the rest of the SEC, and that goes into, well, if you don't get this guy, you're probably going to have to play this guy because he's going to go to A&M or LSU or somewhere else. I'm looking at it that way in the transfer portal as well, man.
Yeah.
Because I know some people are very down about what OU hasn't done via the portal thus far, but LSU has had a strong portal class up to this point. Auburn has had a strong portal class up to this point. It's not just what you do, it's what these other SEC schools are doing, and there's some SEC schools out there that are doing a very, very nice job so far via the transfer portal, and that's clearly not going to change.
Yeah.
So
Oklahoma got the biggest fish in the entire pond in John Mateer.
Had to have it, man.
Yeah.
Had to have it.
Elsewhere, though, like you better hope that some of these FCS/G5 transfers are ready to take that leap. Because, for instance, let's go back to the Fasusi conversation. Fasusi has well, I guess I should phrase it this way. The Sooners had two portal additions at offensive tackle, Derek Simmons, Luke Baklenko. Simmons is probably a more ready-made starter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not probably. He's a one-year rental who's going to be going on year 6 in college football. He better be. Derek Simmons has been playing college football as long as Michael Fasusi has been playing football, period.
Yeah.
So, if Michael Fasusi is on the field over Derek Simmons next year, a healthy Derek Simmons, you got problems. Because that means the evaluation was way off.
Yeah, no doubt. Recruiting Boomer says we have literally done nothing but Mateer. Nothing. And there goes what I was talking about, some of that attitude that some people have via the portal. Like, you don't have the name that's as well known as John Mateer, but maybe a wide receiver or two here that you've gotten, and Isaiah Satania, someone.
Yeah.
Heck, maybe it's a Josiah Martin could have a I don't think any – here's my guess for next year. I don't think any of the wide receivers that you brought in are going to be your number one wide receiver next year.
No.
I think Deion Burks is going to be your number one wide receiver. There's a chance that none of the wide receivers you're bringing in will be your number 2 wide receiver next year. I think there's a chance that that's Jaden Gibson. What you're hoping, though, is that you brought in these guys, a couple of them like really, really hits, and along with Deion Burks and Jaden Gibson, you find yourself with a 4 to 5 man rotation that, man, you feel like that's really strong at the start of the year. But no name's going to be as big as John Mateer.
I like Satania. I like Josiah Martin. I'm intrigued by Giovanni Gibson. I think at wide receiver, and I'm intrigued by Keontez Lewis too. To your point, I don't think any of the guys that you brought in at wide receiver are going to lead the team in receiving necessarily, but I think they all add value. To me, the questions are elsewhere. The questions are at tight end, where you brought in two guys that have to make a pretty steep jump in terms of competitive availability.
Yeah.
You gave a scholarship to a kicker and a punter from the same school that, as scholarship players, you would expect that they're going to be your starters, even though I don't think Austin Wells is beating out Liam Evans. But then you look elsewhere across the board at even places where you haven't added somebody yet, but you need to. What happens, and I know Oklahoma feels like they're getting Ethan O'Connor, what happens if you don't get Ethan O'Connor? Where do you turn at cornerback? Because you need another body in that room. And so there's still a lot of questions that remain unanswered here as we kick off the month of January.
Boomer Brock says, call a spade a spade. Outside of Mateer, this portal class is ass.
All right, then.
And a hate for ass is what Boomer Brock is giving it. If you get Kendall Daniels, if you get Marvin Jones Jr., I think that those would be two really good gets on the defensive side of the ball. But people want offensive help, and they want it right away, and they want better tight end play. And I can't blame anyone for that. How many spots do we think are open right now offensively? I mean, they're not going to take another quarterback. I'm guessing they wouldn't take another running back. Would they take another tight end? I mean, are they done on the offensive side at this point? And if they're not, what position would they still be open to taking another player at? And I'm talking about in this portal cycle. Clearly not. I'm not counting the next one.
Yeah, I don't know.
They could be done potentially. I wouldn't be shocked if they added someone else. I'm just trying to figure out what position that would be.
Linebacker?
Well, I'm talking about on the offensive side.
Yeah, and offensively, I can't think of in a broad sense. I would say linebacker. And that's probably it. There's nothing left that you can add offensively with scholarship numbers being what they are. You got a full quarterback room, full running back room, full receiver room. You got more than enough tight ends. Your offensive line is healthy in terms of critical mass. Yeah, you're done offensively.
Yeah.
Linebacker might be the only position group I would say beyond what they're currently pursuing where, okay, you feel like you wouldn't mind having one more.
Sooner Steven says, I read an article about the 2025 NFL Draft, and Giovanni was listed as a dark horse at wide receiver. Just throwing that out there. He had draft buzz out of UAPB. Giovanni had a little draft buzz coming out of Arkansas Pine Bluff. How about that? I did not see that article on the 2025 NFL Draft. Nice catch, Sooner Steven. Giovanni Gibson. First-round draft pick is what we're saying here.
I mean, the
clearly.
sample size that you have regarding Arkansas Pine Bluff wide receivers got 100% success rate, 100% hit rate on wide receivers you bring in via the portal from Arkansas Pine Bluff, right? So,
you made Christian Chicago's day, by the way. In all caps, preach it, Parker, LDE.
We know what that stands for.
And we know what LDE stands for. Might make T-shirts around here that says LDE. We'll see. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We'll close up Locked In coming up next. Hornsdown Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Hornsdown Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Streak, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Thunder up and double down to win your commemorative coin during any Thunder game.
So start off 2025 right.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
Come see the nation's top collegiate gymnasts at the Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad on January 10th and 11th at the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City, featuring Oklahoma, LSU, Cal, Utah, and Arkansas, plus 7 other of the nation's top teams. This event cannot be missed, and tickets are on sale now. Visit SproutsCollegiateQuad.com to experience all the gymnastics action.
As we wonder why our kids are struggling, someone is getting bullied. As we discuss how to improve their mental health, Someone is being harassed on social media. As we wonder why they're skipping school, someone is crying themselves to sleep. Knowing the signs is the best way to prevent bullying.
Please just leave me alone.
Learn the signs at sandyhookpromise.org.
Did the recent storms damage your home and roof? Call All American Roofing today. All American Roofing has been repairing and replacing roofs for over 40 years and is a second-generation locally owned roofing company. They are also a Google guaranteed contractor and offer free inspections. Our roofers are GAF Master Elite contractors with a BBB A+ rating. Call All American Roofing today at 405-787-0400. All American Roofing, the best roofing company in Oklahoma. 405-787-0400.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is Peggy Doviak, and I opened DM Wealth Management because of a horrible experience that my mother had with a stockbroker. I wanted to give people an alternative, a place they could go to understand their money, to know why investment decisions were made the way they were, and to create a financial plan that would help them meet their goals. Most of all, I wanted to help them plan their prosperity. Call me at 405-329-8884 or dmwealth.com.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Hi, I'm Ashton and I'm with the nonprofit Fostering Futures. Every day, children are removed from their homes due to abuse and neglect. In these critical moments, we step in to support these vulnerable kids. We work alongside child welfare workers to meet the essential needs of safety, stability, and healthy connections, as well as providing enrichment opportunities. But we can't do this important work without your support. Consider donating at fosteringfuturesok.org. Together, we can offer children a brighter future.
Less than 15 minutes until kickoff in New Orleans, Georgia and Notre Dame in a college football playoff. 9.5 minutes left until kickoff. Number 7, Notre Dame. Number 2, Georgia. Notre Dame a 1-point favorite in this game. Gunnar Stockton, backup quarterback, going to start for the Dogs today. Dorsey Jones, Buick GMC in El Reno, bringing you this hour of Locked In. Dorsey Jones is family owned and operated, established in 2020. But many of their employees have been there for more than 20 years. They sell Buicks and GMCs, which are some of the best trucks and SUVs on the road. That's Dorsey Jones, Buick GMC in El Reno. Yoda, no, you are not blocked. Why would you ever think that you were blocked, Yoda? Sorry we couldn't get to more of your text today, but you are not blocked.
Yeah, you're tempting karmic justice if you block Yoda.
Yoda, serious. Can we start talking prospects for the future 2026 class? Yes. Sounds like Deuce Gerald's is having himself a nice week in the state of Florida. Doesn't feel like, Oklahoma's in the mix there.
They are.
Doesn't feel like that one's going to necessarily come to an end anytime soon for one of the best D linemen in 26
he's
class.
a 5-star. That will be a hotly contested And look, here's the problem, Tyler. Here's the problem. The problem is you just went 6 and 7.
Yeah.
And so absent large amounts of money, it's going to be a lot more difficult to convince a kid like that to come play football at Oklahoma than it would have been, say, 4 months ago when you were coming off a 10-win season and everything was great. Everything is not great right now, and you have less to sell, and there's less confidence to be had in the direction that this thing is headed. It's not to say it's doomed, not to say it's in the death spiral, but what recruits are going to think and what they're going to say is, show me, don't tell me. And for these kids in the 2026 class, a lot of them are going to be committed by the time you get the chance to hit the field in the fall of 2025 and show them.
Yeah, and there's some tough narratives that are out there after another 6-7 season that, well, I mean, you can't really combat any of that until, like you said, the season starts. Like, for instance, I actually saw one today. Chris Phillips, who comes on the station quite a bit, I consider him a friend. I think he does a fantastic job. I like Chris Phillips and the guys there at SEC Unfiltered. But he had a take today, Parker, that, well, the more I think about it and the more I look at it, I feel like we're going to look up in 10 years and Oklahoma is going to be the next Nebraska. Oklahoma feels just like another team in the SEC. Now, I fight against that pretty hard as of right now. Like, OU just, 2 of the past 3 years, they were 6-7. And I'm not telling you that it's great right now. I mean, it's not. It's got to be better. But Nebraska went 7 consecutive seasons without going to a bowl game.
That is
like,
correct.
If we're going to compare Oklahoma to Nebraska, or the possibility of it, let's truly understand what's been going on at Nebraska for the past 20 years. So a huge reason why I don't think that OU is the next Nebraska is, well, there's not really a comparison to be made. OU's in a much better recruiting area than Nebraska is. I look back at the past 18 classes, according to Rivals. How many times do you think that Nebraska in the past 18 recruiting cycles had a higher ranked class than Oklahoma?
0.
0 is correct. Yes. Yeah. Not one time. So, I mean, Oklahoma might, if they don't get its act together and figure some things out, yeah, they can continue to struggle in the SEC, but you'll just have to excuse me if I'm not ready just yet to compare Oklahoma to a team that went 7 consecutive seasons without making a bowl game in a god-awful division in the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. How awful was the Big Ten West really all of those years where they weren't going to a bowl game? I mean, it was really, really bad. It's got to get better at OU. I hope it gets better at OU. I'm just not ready to say right now, but that is one of the narratives that are out there. Oklahoma's the next Nebraska. I've seen that all over the place.
It's been 3 seasons of this. And there was a 10-win season in the midst of it. So you've had 2 6-7 seasons in the last 3 years. Unacceptable by the Oklahoma standard, right? Be that as it may. Nebraska has not won a conference title in the 21st century.
Nope.
They had the longest bowl drought in the entire Power 5 until they finally snapped it this year. And that program has been nowhere near relevance for a decade plus, Tyler. And so we are so far off from having that conversation. Now, a comparison that might be less sexy, less clickbaity, would show up in the headlines less. Maybe Oklahoma is the next Tennessee. Maybe Oklahoma is the next, well, LSU is a bad comparison. LSU has won 3 national titles in the 21st century. But Oklahoma is the next Florida, perhaps, where they have their ebbs and flows, their highs and lows in the SEC, where they might win 11 games one year, sure, but then the next year they're down to 6 or 7. That happens, and that has happened for pretty much every single team in the SEC save for Alabama in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
It feels like you have Alabama, and more recently you have Georgia that's established some stability at the top. But outside of that, it's one team's year, and then it's another team's year, time after time.
Tim from Nebraska says, I live in Nebraska, and losing our bowl losing streak was brutal, but I don't see OU being the next Nebraska.
Okay. And the other aspect of it, too, is that how many things did Nebraska have to get wrong to get to where they were?
A lot, man.
Let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that hiring Brent Venables was a mistake. Let's just say that. Hiring Brent Venables was a mistake. This thing is doomed. It's spiraling downward, and it's irredeemable, and you're going to have to move on from him if you want to get this program better. Even if that were true, here's what Nebraska had to do. They had to prematurely fire Frank Solich, make what turned out to be a terrible hire in Bill Callahan, get stuck with the better part of a decade's worth of mediocrity with Bo Pelini, completely swing and miss on Mike Riley, swing and miss even harder on Scott Frost, and then finally you land on a guy in Matt Rule who hasn't proven anything yet other than that he can get Nebraska barely bowl eligible. So you have to compound mistakes on top of mistakes.
You have to have multiple bad hires, right?
Yeah, it's
sure.
not just the head coach,
100%.
too. It's the athletic director. Sean Eichhorst was not a popular guy when he was the AD at Nebraska. It comes down to bad recruiting, poor personnel decisions, complete and utter mismanagement, because that's what it was for so many years at Nebraska. And is that happening right now at Oklahoma? Some would argue that it is, because some people hate Joe Castiglione and they think top down it's a mess right now. But again, even if that were true, we got to see 10, 15 years of it before Oklahoma is on the same plane as Nebraska.
100%, and that's kind of my whole argument. It's like, well, OU's still making bowl games. Nebraska didn't for 7 consecutive seasons, so I don't think we're there just yet. Minnesota Sooners says, is it safe to assume we probably won't have a top 10 recruiting class this year? If things go really good next year, it gives us a leg to stand on for the 2027 class, and we will be hot in the portal next December. So Minnesota Sooners saying, okay, well, with everything that's going on right now, the narrative, the 6 and 7 year, all that, is it safe to assume we won't have a top 10 class? I think OU could still have a top 10 class. I don't think that they'd be number 1. I probably wouldn't project them today to be top 3 or maybe even top 5. But could they have a top 10 class? I mean, yeah, I think that they could factor somewhere 8 to 10, something like that, if all things go well. What they have 3 commits right now. They're the 21st ranked class. Most importantly, you got your quarterback in this class, which we've seen. A guy like Jaden O'Neal can go a long way in helping build your recruiting class, especially on the offensive side. So that's what you're hoping for, and I think that that's kind of what I'm expecting now, is that Jaden O'Neal is going to help be a really good peer recruiter for this class. Hopefully that's the case. But Will Conroy, who's currently a 3-star, I bet he's not a 3-star by the time it's all said and done.
You'd hope not.
I think he could get to 4-star status.
I think he could. It's going to be more difficult for a pure interior offensive lineman like him. Because
a guy like Ryder Mix could absolutely elevate to a 4-star.
Ryder Mix is going to be a 4-star. Yeah, that kid is good. You got a good between Jaden O'Neal, Ryder Mix, and Will Conroy. You got a nice nucleus right now. But who's going to be that galvanizer? Yeah. Is it going to be Jaden O'Neal? Somebody is going to have to be the dynamic peer recruiter in this cycle to be able to help lasso guys, if you will, and reel them into Oklahoma.
In case you didn't hear from earlier, OU did get an addition via the transfer portal. Austin Welch, a kicker from Kennesaw State, 3rd Kennesaw State Owl to be added by OU in the transfer portal. Austin Welch was 14 of 18 last year at Kennesaw State. So I'm sure he and Liam Dam Evans, as Chris in Chicago likes to say, will be talking about that kicker battle throughout the offseason. It should be fun.
Giving a scholarship to Austin Welch is a decision that I question.
With limited scholarship?
With limited scholarships being what they are. And also the fact that he was at Eastern Kentucky for 3 years before Kennesaw State and did not play for them. His only experience is that singular 14 for 18 campaign at Kennesaw State this past year. You go back to when they acquired Tyler Keltner. He had just sat the bench for a whole year at Florida State, but even he had 4 full years of kicking experience at East Tennessee State prior to his time at FSU. So, again, these guys that are getting paid to make these decisions, they've got more on the line than I do. And so I'll trust them on it, but on paper, that feels like a weird scholarship offer to make.
You players that are visiting today, former Oklahoma State Cowboy Kendall Daniels visiting today. Me thinks that would be a very good get for OU's defense. You've got Marvin Jones Jr. the former 5-star, and then Josiah Martin, the transfer portal commits at wide receiver. 3 of those guys are in right now. And OU did offer another tight end, not a scholarship, PWO. John Locke, formerly of Louisiana Tech, 2 receptions, 6 yards in his career. So important to say that it's PWO.
If he commits to the University of Oklahoma, we're hyphenating the name of our show for one day. We will be locked in.
There's a 2 receptions, 6 yards joke in there somewhere that I haven't figured out just yet. Defensive coordinator hire could come down at any point, I guess. Now, and I think we made this point earlier, and I'm sure we'll make it again from 3 to 6 today with the Rush. Who will they hire at DC? Might it be Wes Goodwin? Might it be somebody else? May they keep it? We'll see. The same is true moving forward. It's been true the entire time. This is Brent Venables' defense, right? I mean, maybe someone else comes in and calls it. We'll see if even that's the case. But this is Brent Venables' defense. They're going to run what he wants to run. They're going to call probably what he wants to be called. For better or worse or whatever happens next year, whoever is hired as the defensive coordinator, this is Brent Venables' defense. And he will get all the credit or all the blame, depending on what happens next year. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a big decision. I think it's an important decision for sure. But, again, it's Brent Venables' defense.
It's a glorified grad assistant position.
Oh, boy.
According to one national reporter.
Oh, who said that? Was it who?
I mean, he said a source said it, but that came from Pete Nakos.
Okay, interesting.
Said, glorified grad assistant position.
All-State Sugar Bowl about to kick off between Notre Dame and Georgia. The Rush coming up next.